Hi, and welcome to Nurture Squared. I have the pleasure today of introducing Andrea and Richard Strang. They are a dynamic duo that have combined sleep consulting and mentorship for sleep consultants with the tech side of things in supporting people, especially this year with the pandemic. They met way back in high school during a musical of The Music Man, and they've pretty much been creating magic ever since on and off the stage and online and at live symposiums. So Andrea started out as a birth doula and became a postpartum doula. And then, of course, the number one question that moms have postpartum is about sleep. So Andrea moved into the sleep consulting space. She's now an instructor, a mentor to sleep consultants around the world, and also runs an annual sleeposium conference for sleep professionals as well, which this year pivoted entirely online. And that's where Richard comes in. Richard is a software developer who is detail oriented, which is perfect for picking up on all those back end details and all the glitches that we don't ever end up even finding out about when we participate in online conferences. He also does the grocery shopping and cooking in the family. So that leaves more time for Andrea to work on her projects through her business, through the Child Sleep Institute, and through her consulting business. So since March 2020, when the world shut down, Richard's been had an extra 2 hours of not commuting to be able to support things on the online space for Andrea's business. And today we're going to focus on talking about pulling together online symposiums and conferences that draw interest, but also draw expertise, and how to get through both the practical and knowledge piece, but also the tech side of things as well. So Richard and Andrea, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. It's so fun. Thanks for asking us.
It's a pleasure. Did I miss anything that captures what all you've been doing lately?
That sounded pretty impressive to me.
Oh, I did miss one piece, because the latest is a launch of a membership program for sleep consultants, which again combines the practical strategies of running a sleep business with, of course, the online tech stuff to get resources available to us. So that's pretty exciting news.
Yes, that's our big excitement right now.
Yeah. So I wonder if you could start, having participated both as a observer and a speaker at your most recent Sleeposium conference. I know so much more goes into these these events than meets the eye. Do you want to start, Andrea, with talking about how, it seems like such a daunting task. How do you pull together an event like this?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is having an idea of who you want to speak or what speakers you want, and then finding the speakers. I find that's the most challenging, just finding really good speakers. And you probably remember back when I connected with you initially, I always want to interview my speakers before I even ask them, because I want to make sure that they're a good fit and they really understand the sleep industry. So Sleeposium started off being for sleep consultants, but there are so many other perinatal professionals that are interested in sleep that we ended up sort of creating a program that a lot of different people were able to participate in. But I always want it to be really relevant for the sleep coaching profession, because a lot of professionals don't really get what we do.
Mm.
Andrea, she didn't explicitly say this, but it's implied in what she was talking about. The reason she could do such a good job on the conference is because she understands her audience very well. She knows exactly who she wants to come to this conference. And so she was focused on the speakers. For anyone else who's planning a conference, you need to make sure that you know who your audience is and what's going to keep them interested. Andrea told me about a conference that she went to that was put on by a sleep association that she belonged to, but the speakers didn't know anything about the sleep business. And so the content that they provided wasn't really that relevant. And, you got bored listening to the speakers because it's like, this has nothing to do with me. They might have been talking about marketing, or they might have been talking about, very interesting business topics, but unless it was relevant to your business, it wasn't that good. So when, I couldn't have done this conference with Andrea if she hadn't brought that information about both the audience and the speakers that would speak to that audience.
I wonder if that speaks as well to the, how long you've been in this business, Andrea, because it's been 20 years of sleep consulting and you've been running Sleeposium for 5 years now.
Well, so we did it in 2015, the first year. And then there's a couple years we skipped. So we did 2015, 2019, 2020. So we've done it 3 times, but over 5 years. Yeah.
Right. I just wonder, yeah, when I look at how long you've been working in this industry and how wide your network is, whether that's probably a pretty important asset to have, especially Richard's point about knowing your audience. If you've been in the industry long enough and you have a wide network, you have a bit more of a pulse on that.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that anybody could probably do this if you have an idea that that you can run with. I think that's the biggest thing, is having an idea and then, building on that with trying to get speakers. So, I mean, I had a bit of an advantage because I was keenly aware of this industry, but I think you could do it too as a goatee, bring some things together as well.
I think we all have areas that we're passionate about that we could throw something like this together. And you can't pick something at random. You have to pick something that you care about and then say, okay, this I know. And where's my audience? And who's my audience? And then who's going to speak to that audience? And then your participants will feel that when you're working your conference, and they'll be that much more engaged because you're engaged.
Right. Well, I guess that's an important piece when it comes to understanding just how much time goes into organizing something like this, right?
Yeah, so it's a significant amount of time, yes, but it's not as much as you might think. So it's manageable. Because I was doing it on my own. I did the last 3 pretty much on my own. And along with, the 2 companies I'm running and all the other stuff going on. And so it can be manageable if you're, a little bit of organization and get it done. A lot of times the work comes in spurts, and there's lots of things I could pass to Richard, so that's helpful.
And well, and that's what's so nice about being able to interview both of you, because it really is both sides of this that come together. Where my questions come next, I'm the daughter of an accountant, I'm the spouse of an accountant, yet the thought of even tackling the financial side of things, deciding on a feasible price, covering costs, paying speakers, where would someone even start with breaking down where the key priorities for making it at least stay afloat the first year?
Yeah, so I put together a formula that I learned while I was involved in a couple of Kickstarter campaigns. And a Kickstarter, where you're doing a crowdsourced product of some kind, it's very similar to a conference like this that we're doing online. First of all, though, the virtual conferences that we're attending these days, the costs, there's no upfront costs now like there used to be. You used to have to put down deposits on your venue and purchase travel for your speakers and all of these things that before you even started the conference, you were thousands of dollars in debt. And that's all gone now. So your startup costs are very minimal. And as you know, we paid our speakers after the event. And so, the money had all come in at that point. And so that was really nice. And so that's, from a financial perspective, the barriers are much less now for a virtual conference. And, it really is more like the technology and how you do it that has become the barrier versus, the putting it on, picking a venue and the money.
Right.
But the Kickstarter formula that we applied to this most recent conference that we did is actually it's 3 parts. There's the pre-conference planning, there is the conference execution, and then there is the post-conference wrap-up and additional money that can be earned after the conference, continuing to sell the conference even after it's over, which is another thing that you can't do with a physical conference. But we've bundled up all the speakers into a package that you can still buy on our website. And so the Sleeposium is still for sale and still making money in that sense. So everybody focuses on the pre-conference planning, and that was what your question is about. And there's quite a few steps to that process, but it's not overwhelming like it might have been for a physical conference where you have a hotel and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that leads, you said the biggest barrier. I have two questions for you leading from that, Richard. The first is, if tech is the biggest barrier, what are the main hurdles to overcome, and how, this is going to be a bit of a leading question because I know one of your roles is to support people in doing this. What are the biggest barriers? Let's start with that, with tech when it comes to this.
So we've learned a lot the hard way when we decided to put the video. So we've always videotaped or recorded our sessions. We never knew exactly what we were going to do with them, or like, it's just a good idea. Put a camera on a tripod and record this and see what it works. And we've learned, all right, so you need to invest in some good sound equipment, professional microphones. So we always rent professional microphones for a conference. We try not to rely on our phones, but we still run the phones at the same time, just in case something happens. But we have professional mixer, professional microphones, and a professional recording device to capture all the audio, because even if the video is a little bit wonky, it's really the audio that needs to be really good. So that's one piece. A second piece is, what happens if the internet is flaky whenever you're doing things? And for all the Zoom meetings that we've been on, 10 or 15 or 20% of those Zoom meetings have problems. So how do you make sure that you don't have those problems in the conference itself? And Andrea came up actually with a very good trick for this most recent conference, which I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I came up with a trick. That's amazing.
So for our conference, we had all our speakers pre-record their talk and send them to them in advance so that we could listen to them and make sure that the audio was good. And we did have one speaker that we said, this is just not good enough. You need to do it again. And she wasn't happy that she had to re-record her whole talk, but it was so much better after we gave some tips around lighting and around audio that she said, oh, that is better. And so then when it came time for that presentation, we already had it in the can, so to speak, and we just put it up we played it through the Zoom meeting and onto Facebook where people could watch it. And then even if there was a problem, then we still had a good recording for after the fact that people could listen to and watch, hosted from our website. So, I mean, for me, I'm always worried about, I don't want to lose anything. What if something goes wrong? And that having it pre-recorded made a huge, took a lot of the risk out of it. So that was good.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was one of the people that had trouble. Zoom hasn't worked as well since the pandemic started. I remember having trouble. I think I recorded it 3 times before. I kept sending it to you saying, I don't think this is good, but I'll find time that my kids are asleep and the lighting is still okay. Anyway, go ahead, Andrea.
So yeah, that's why when he said that, I thought, oh, Heather was one of those. So normally we were set to run a 2-day in-person conference, but when the lockdown happened, we pivoted in a few different ways that made a really big difference. And this is actually something that we found, it's sort of a formula that really works right now. That's very family friendly and global. So we had the presentation, the core presentation from each of the speakers was pre-recorded, and we had it on the website the night before so that people in all different time zones can watch it. But we did do a watch party at 10 a.m. Eastern time every day so that everybody could watch it together who wanted to. And then we brought the speakers in live for 1 o'clock to do a Q&A session. And instead of doing it in 2 days, we spread it out over 2 weeks, weekdays. Everyone had the weekend off. And it worked out really well. And it turns out it's a very family-friendly, global, COVID-friendly way of doing it, because most of the people in our audience are families. So I've been to a few conferences where they said, there's no recording, you need to sit here for 3 days. And, and it was from morning to 8 o'clock at night. It was just ridiculous. And even if you're really into it, you just physically feel sick at the end of each day. You can't do it anymore. And so also really helpful in the way people consume information, just to be able to have some time to spread that out. And so it was really good that we did that, because the day one of Sleeposium, first time it ever happened ever, the internet was out in the whole town of Erin where we lived. And so like the whole town. So I was running the conference off my cell phone, and but we didn't have any uploads because we did that the night before. So it was great.
That was, looking back, an amazing way to run it, because with the watch party, it still felt like you were live and part of a bigger community. And then the live Q&A was like right there, as live as you could ever get. So that was terrific. I have one more question for you, and this is about moving forward through the pandemic, life after the pandemic. With all the advantages that you've talked about with moving online, and the flexibility, and the being able to spread a 3-day conference out into 2 weeks, are we ever going back? What do you think?
So I miss the traveling part. I would still travel to go to a conference, just because it's fun to travel and stay in hotels like we're doing right now. And when you are away from home and you don't have all those distractions, then that weekend or 3-day conference model really works. But as long as we're not traveling, I don't see us going back to that anytime soon. And I also think this is a great model for reaching people that you wouldn't otherwise, that couldn't have gone to your conference. So we had people from all over the world come to Sleeposium that there's no way they would have flown to Toronto for a 2-day conference, but they're happy to pay a nominal fee for access to the conference for the 10 days. And so the audience is significantly bigger when you run it in a virtual way. So you're charging less because your costs are down, but your audience is a lot bigger. And so your potential revenue is a lot higher. And so I don't see it going away. We'll probably do both going forward.
Yeah, terrific. And my last question then is, where can people find you if they're wanting to find out more about either of the aspects of the business that you both work on together?
So Andrea's website is childsleepinstitute.com. And that's where you could buy the Sleeposium and attend it or join her membership, do those sorts of things. And my website is springhousesolutions.com, where you can contact me if you want me to help with the back end of your conference.
Terrific. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye? Anything I didn't ask that you'd love to share today?
Well, one of the things that surprised me the most about the Sleeposium this year was the instant community that we were able to create online around the Sleeposium. Really, really blew me away. We ended up, pivoting and having like a farewell party with prizes and stuff, because it was just an incredible experience. But when we look back at it, it actually wasn't that challenging to do. The system that we figured out really works right now. And that's where, we talked about helping other people also run conferences, because Richard has the tech, and I have some insights into that too. And so it's not actually a big investment to get started. It's actually a very little to no investment to do a conference. So it's just a matter of having that tech backup, which Richard is amazing at, and engagement help, which is kind of where I've sort of figured out some things. And so I would say if you have an idea, just to do it, to go for it. There's very little to lose.
That's a fantastic way to finish up. Did you have anything else to add, Richard?
Just if someone's interested in doing a conference, the thing they should do first is around that audience. So create their own Facebook group and start having conversations, a free Facebook group. You don't even have to talk about a conference. Just go find your audience, and then you can start seeing, is this who needs a conference? Is this who I could serve with a conference? Something like that. So yes, just start collecting that audience so that then once you're ready, you have the audience already made.
Wise advice and really nice encouragement too, that maybe this is something that I could consider in the future. For now, I am happy simply to participate in what you organize, Andrea and Richard. So thank you both for being here. It's been a pleasure to get to tap into your expertise, and I thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Heather. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.